Okay, this is now episode 9 of What If History Restarted. There's a lot of expansion and exploration going on last time, especially in the Middle East and Mediterranean, which is now fully discovered. There's all this stuff with the new leader in China, and there's also this orange one that popped up on that island. And, last time was kind of foreshadowing that this, well, not really foreshadowing, I just kind of said it, this episode is going to be pretty important. But we're not going to get to the important event until a little bit later. First, just going to go to this part of the Western Mediterranean, where there's a lot more exploration going up into France. However, they do start to get stopped by the Alps as they approach those. Gibraltar continues to expand just a little bit over into the east. Meanwhile, in the Italian kingdoms, the pinkish, beigeish one and Corsica overthrow this northern Sardinian one. But then the Corsica betrays the pinkish one and takes it over. The greenish one gets a little bit more land out of this too, because some of it just kind of goes over to them. A new leader is instated in Sicily, and this little piece of land here is auctioned off to this guy. These northern ones, for once, are actually kind of peaceful. The only thing that happens is that there's a new kingdom forming down here. Get that color. So yeah. Other than that, this purplish one, which is pretty quickly become like the second most powerful one, I'd say just behind this guy, it is expanding more. It cuts off the other ones from the rest of Europe and also goes up into the very most north of Italy. And yeah. Greece also goes ahead and colonizes this. I don't know if that really counts as a colony. It's just across the Adriatic. But anyway, Tunisia is doing decent. They expand more up here and also go further into Libya. But some of these people decide that they don't like this. So there's a rebellion up here in the north, which goes to break away from Tunisia. These things meet up pretty quickly, start surrounding the capital. The main Tunisian forces push it back, but only slightly as it comes in again. And now this is more Libya by this point, agrees to give it independence. So that happens like that. The blue team continues to expand just a little bit into Crimea and around the Sea of Azov, now becoming very coastal, I guess. I mean, not that they already were with the Caspian, obviously, but now over here. Oman continues to expand, and they're pretty powerful. They probably have the best, I say that Gibraltar is has the most human rights out of all the countries that are around right now, but Oman is probably second. But even then, there are some people who still want to revert back to, how these other countries have their rights. And so there's growing instability in Oman because, as these groups don't get along very well. There's no rebellions yet, but it's definitely brewing up. Arabia is continued to get explored. There's only a little bit left that's unexplored. Just do that. Jazz goes a little bit down this coast, but not too much. And down here in the lake country, we see after this loss, a very large amount of people give up on the lake system of beliefs, I guess. So the people, all these people down here decide to immigrate or move, and the ones that are left behind just kind of return to being tribal or go up to the main lake country. And now these guys form their own civilization right over here, which looks like this. Over here in Madagascar, this country expands down here, and this one expands up, and now there's a border between them. These countries that are peaceful with each other, like I said, focus a lot on exploring, and that goes pretty well. They go down the coast and even more inland. Send out another failed expedition, I guess. And then like that. Over here in China, that new warlord slash dictator. I mean, I feel like dictators. What did I just do? But that new guy in charge is pretty, what's it called? Expansionist, like I said. So they're going to be ramping that up again. They only do a little bit of exploring, which does involve finding Taiwan. But he quickly goes down south to reclaim most of this new land as well as Taiwan. This land that they lost kind of recently. So yeah. They also meet up with Orange Team, which scares it, but they don't do anything for now. And they continue to push up north here, including into Japan. And they do send out, finally, some explorers up here. And they find a lot of these islands. And, yeah. So, they expand slightly more up here into whatever this peninsula of panhandle of Russia is called. And then, yeah, that's it. The Persian countries finally begin to actually go up north. Whoa. Not that much. This little guy goes there. Bluish one goes here. This one barely does anything. But the most powerful one, this orange one, does actually a decent amount of expanding up here. You see this thing have to cut back on some of its land, but not too much. I mean, that is kind of a lot, I guess. And the red team is wanting to expand also, so they're kind of forced to have to go over and invade an already existing country, and they're going to choose this one. So they start sending their troops in here, and they meet the capital. I mean, they roll over this pretty weak country easily. Now, they don't fully annex it. Instead, they're just going to get this northern chunk of land. Mostly just so that they can access this unclaimed land. Also, because of that, they send an ultimatum over, well, whatever. That's probably not invented yet. It's probably just like they send a guy who asks the leader to give them this land or else they'll invade them. And the orange leader says yes. So now they have that. And so with that, they expand more out here. North Egypt, I guess. They do more. They thicken a lot going down here. But at this point, their citizens are pretty happy with how big they've become. There's also a new major city up there. So they're fine with that. And with all that out of the way, we're probably going to start that big event now. So, as you know, Greece and Cyprus have recently been having very high tensions, especially with how they scrambled for this piece of Anatolia, and then, just kind of in general, the naval dominance over this over the Levantine Sea, so that they can become who can become like the main Mediterranean power. Because Gibraltar also is like a Mediterranean power, but not as much as these two. And so like whichever one of these guys, comes out on top over the other and becomes more influential and dominant over the Mediterranean, would probably be able to would become, very powerful, because they'd, have fully access to trade with everyone here, and there's obviously a lot. If you just look at Italy and Gibraltar and these new countries that keep forming up against it. In fact, there's one new one right up here. And this guy. So because of all of that, they both really want to get the Mediterranean. So tensions continue to rise with both of them kind of just looking at each other for a while. But eventually Cyprus is going to launch a surprise attack, and they're going to start conquering a lot of these the Aegean Isles, pushing up onto this coast and taking all these islands, and then capturing this major city. Right now, the two of them are like essentially dead even in terms of how powerful they are. Greece has lower population than Cyprus, I'd say, but they do have more. Currently, they're like more in the lead for, being the Mediterranean power. So they do have more access to trade and navigation and all that. So because of that, it's kind of evens each other out, and they're pretty much equal in power. So Greece repels this little excursion over there, but Cyprus continues to conquer Anatolia, taking this strait surrounding the Sea of Marmara and cutting all this off. Greece launches a counter naval attack, taking Crete. It's owned by Cyprus, so technically. But they take Crete, go up here, take Rhodes, and start making naval invasions around this major city. Cyprus launches a failed attempt to capture the capital of Greece navally. So once they're repelled, they go up here instead, start rolling through like Bulgaria. Greece manages to capture this major city and starts going through all this unprotected, unpopulated land here. They also start to reclaim some of their land, including this major city. And now it's getting pretty dangerous for Cyprus, because most of their troops are about to be cut off here. So they're gonna do probably a smart decision and pull out some of their troops here, because they are now able to make sure that they don't get cut off and all die. That does lead to Greece making a lot of recapturing over here, but Cyprus manages to take back this city, and yeah. Greece launches straight down and up at the same time to reconnect here. They start pushing into their old land, coming to this strait, and launching another invasion into Cyprus. They cut them off from their invasion up here. Cyprus reclaims their islands down here. And yeah, I think I just died for a second, but they make a pretty big landing on Sparta / Peloponnesia, take the capital, and then not the capital of what was Sparta. Now it's just a major city. But they continue. I wish they weren't both green, but they continue to push up here. Man. Now they're actually starting to threaten the Greek capital. Greece, though, doesn't really care, and they just start to go through this coast, taking these 3 pretty big cities, and now threatening Cyprus itself, the actual island. They go to Egypt and ask if they want to join on this war, but they decline. And yeah, they launch a counterattack over here into Peloponnnesia, but it's stalemated at the border of Peloponnnesia. However, they do continue to roll through a lot of this land. Cyprus starts actually managing to defend it decently, actually launching a counter-naval invasion here, managing to reclaim all three of these major cities. But they still have a lot of their own land under Greek control. They now start to push up and encircle the capital up here. They really push it against the sea, but the Greeks hold out well over here. They then take more of Albania, and even this major city, because all of this is undefended. Not the capital, though. With this massive effort to capture the capital, Greece is now able to reclaim all three of these cities and push down here. They then take this city and start rolling through this coast. That's not coast. I don't know what I'm saying. They then launch from here another failed invasion of Cyprus. Cyprus, the entire island has like a decent wall around it, which is pretty impressive for this time of history. So yeah, because of that, they now just send more of their troops down here and cut Cyprus off like completely, as well as these islands. However, Cyprus is finally able to capture their capital, and from there they start taking like most of mainland Greece, including their Italian thing. Now, both of these countries have lost like most of their core territory. However, Cyprus right now is slightly in the lead because they still have their capital. Greece doesn't. But Greece is just going to continue pushing in, and eventually this entire thing just falls over. And now that's not good, because now they send all of their troops up here just to push out Cyprus. And it goes pretty well as they recapture the capital. Then push out the Cypriot forces, and now it's very quickly just turned the tide of the war. Cyprus still has a decent amount of reserve troops left, so they're going to use that to make one last landing over here and here. I mean, not one last landing, but one last set of landings. 4 landings, to be specific, all of which targeting a major city, and luckily all of them succeed. Then recapture all this and cut off Greece over here. Push them up like that, and secure a decent amount of land. They then go after what is essentially their last trick up their sleeve. They take this major city, and starting from this island right here, they launch another siege over the capital. This time they go to it, and they actually manage to kill the leader of Greece. So this is not good, and the entire country kind of goes into turmoil. They lose all of this land. Well, not all of that land. They lose all of their gains over there in Anatolia, and now push back. Cyprus pushes back and managed to reclaim all of this, but that's mostly because all the soldiers already left, so it's kind of say that it's theirs now again. So Greece continues to defend themselves, but it's really not looking good for them. Cyprus takes over all of this too. But if you remember, Cyprus is right now using their very last reserves, and Greece is only now just beginning to send out their last thing of reserves. And with how Cyprus is already like half dead, they managed to actually reclaim all of this land. And from there, it's just a slow push as they roll through Anatolia, taking the cities. A lot of troops are dying because Cyprus is just like using them as walls. And even though Cyprus got really close, all of these major cities fall, including this one. And eventually this entire thing collapses, as Cyprus quite literally has like 1% of their troops left. This was really bad for them. Greece didn't kill that many civilians, but Cyprus still has a lot of casualties in terms of deaths. So since Cyprus is the aggressor, their navy is going to be red. And, I mean, they're technically the aggressor. And then Greece's will be blue. So the Greek forces now begin to send out their navy from these major cities. They pretty quickly surround this entire northern part as they get naval dominance over this peninsula of Cyprus. They continue to swarm over here, and eventually the entire island is completely surrounded by the Greek ships. Just before the Greeks begin to, send down arrows and troops to try and climb over the walls, Cyprus know that they aren't going to win, so they finally decide to surrender over to Greece. No landing in actual Cyprus was made, but it was about to happen, so they figured that they might as well surrender. So now it's kind of the equivalent of the First Punic War. So we're going to see, just to note that. Now for the peace treaty, it's not looking good for Cyprus because they're going to lose most of their major cities over to Greece. Greece, even then, this already looks bad enough because they just lost, let's see, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, they have 7 major cities, and they just lost 4 over to Greece, and they're about to lose another, because Greece also decides to take the Sinai Peninsula. And just as, the final nail in the coffin, they leave only this tiny little sliver of land for Cyprus to access this entire inland portion. Cyprus barely has any coastline now. It's just their main island and this little thing, technically. Plus, all this land is pretty disconnected from Cyprus. And yeah, Greece now has essentially full control over the Levantine Sea and really just the entire eastern Mediterranean. At this point, they are probably the second most powerful country in the world. China is first still. Greece is a very close second, and the blue team is a very close third. So the top 3 is all very close now. But, it goes China, Greece, blue team. And this is pretty scary for the blue team because, they've been the dominant power over here in, the majority of the world for essentially ever since the red team got conquered for the first time. So that's pretty upsetting. Greece does have to cut back on some of this land, though, just because there's no way they can... there's not no way, but it's going to be very difficult for them to control all this land. So once again, a good portion of Anatolia just kind of goes back to nothingness. This happens a surprising amount in our history, too. Let's do that. Speaking of that, we're also going to see that happen in a couple more places. Wait, there. This recently claimed stuff is mostly just desert, so most of the people there just decide to move out anyway. The lake country continues to get even smaller. They're probably the smallest country in the world now. They literally just have the capital and then this one major city. And, that's probably going to be all the lost land. Maybe this guy. Maybe this son. So, yeah. But on a less bad note for these countries in the world, a lot of exploration is now going to take place, especially down here in Africa, as all of this is now filled in. All these islands are found, and they go inland some more, but not too much. Of course, we see the Navy / discovered ocean expand. They send out an expedition over here. They find this one little island, so they go ahead and colonize it, because why not? After that went pretty well, they decided to send another over here from Brittany. This one goes less well. I mean, they got like halfway across the Atlantic, so that's good, if not more. But after that, they kind of decide that this is probably the end of the world. I mean, not there, but it's probably just like out here. So, let me just make this accurate. They probably think that the world ends like right here. So yeah, the chances of them finding America anytime soon are pretty low. But anyway, up here are in this sort of leftover space. They continue to push up. Going up here some more. China, I mean, this is disconnected from the main part. But the two Chinese, this really isn't even that Chinese, it's more like, even if most of its land is Chinese, I'd call it more like Vietnamese. But China and Vietnam do some more exploring over here. Not like together, but still. Fill in this lake. And finally, there's some over here in India. We also see two new countries form up. One of them is in this very southern tip of India, plus northern half of Sri Lanka. You have the capital right here. And then they launch an invasion into the southern Indian one, which lasts pretty shortly, and eventually just kind of stalemates, and there really isn't even an official end. It just kind of stops and dies down. And the other one is just down here on the more southern part of Sri Lanka. And yeah, it's probably going to be all for this episode. So obviously the main event was the Punic War between Greece and Cyprus instead of Rome and Carthage. And yeah, Cyprus now only has one major city, but just as one little last thing, they actually make a pretty big effort, which goes surprisingly well, to make a new major city from scratch down here. Because now it's kind of their only coastal thing. They kind of had to sacrifice this major city, though. I mean, it's not like this major city's gone, but it's just smaller now. I can't really show that, but just know that it's like it barely meets the threshold for a major city. But yeah, that was actually going to be the end of this episode. Let me take a look at Greece, though. I mean, this thing's looking pretty gnarly. I don't know if I mean that in a good or bad way. Kind of both. They control most of the Levantine Sea and are now the leading power in the known quote-unquote world. So yeah, goodbye.